But people are more worried about the drama side of it. Like, what do they not have? Like, I see they spent $200,000 on this bill, but what are they missing? What's leaking? Like, they have a scratch on their mirror.
Welcome to Tread Talk, the official podcast of Fury Tires, where rubber meets the road and off-road. Coming up on this episode of Tread Talk, host Jason Hempey is joined by entrepreneur, shop owner, and builder Mariah Medina. Don't go anywhere. Here is your host, Jason Hempey.
Welcome to Tread Talk. I am here with Mariah Medina.
Yes. Mariah 970.
Yes. Well, actually, so talk to me about that. So that you have your personal page.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about all that.
Yeah, so I'm actually from Colorado, so the 970 is my area code. And
I
then
assumed it was something like that. Yeah, I figured.
I don't know why. It was just there for the last 4 or 5 years, and then I moved to Florida and started fishing, and it kind of went viral, and I couldn't change it at that point. So now I have a little piece of home from Colorado stuck on my Instagram.
That's nice.
But that's where that comes from.
So what's the Instagram handle for?
So the handle is Mariah _970.
Right.
And then my business. And then my business is Lifted Rippers.
Yeah. So on your page, what's your main? I saw a lot of fishing, which was awesome.
There's a lot of fishing there.
It's great.
Florida's a lot warmer, so
yes.
We get to enjoy the sunshine, bikinis, fishing, boating, almost year round. And then throwing in truck stuff is also a hobby. So I get to do the best.
Do you miss the winter?
I don't miss the snow or winter at all.
So I'm actually from Montreal in Canada, where it's winter a lot.
Yeah.
So I bizarrely though, I'm surprised you say that, because sometimes I do, like towards the end of the summer and the fall, I really kind of start missing the winter.
People say they miss seasons, and I do miss the color changes in the leaves, but other than that, I don't miss having to shovel or blow the leaves or whatever people do these days.
Yeah. Shoveling is a real, I've mentioned that a few times, because obviously a lot of the people we talk to have been from Texas or southern, and they have absolutely no concept of snow. So you actually have a concept of snow. And
I do. Yes. I'm over the snow. All I know now with being in Florida is the seasons for fishing and which seasons open. Did
you ski or snowboard? Or
I did snowboard. Yeah.
I guess you'd have to go a pretty far trip to go snowboarding.
Yeah, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's been 3 years since I've been snowboarding.
Yeah. So were you into fishing before, or was it something that sort of just happened when you got to Florida? Or
I don't know. We always built off-road vehicles in Colorado to go into the mountains. Right. So a lot of the smaller fishing, like trout fishing, were in the creeks up in the mountains. So that's where my love for trucks came, and I think that fishing was kind of boring in Colorado.
So were the trucks we'll go back to that in a second, but were the trucks a necessity to go fishing, or
kind of? There were a lot of places you couldn't get to in the mountains without having 4-wheel drive. They didn't have to be as big and lifted as they are here, but
that's actually very genuine then. So you're into trucks for the act, which obviously you've walked around here and you've seen, and you're part of the industry as well. A lot of guys, they're not using them, but it's funny, that's the actual use for that.
My actual use for my first Tacoma was to get up the side of a mountain so that I could get there.
Right.
And be able to fish or go hunting or do whatever else that we did up there.
That's awesome. So basically, that's just what got you into trucks. And then what made you make the move to Florida?
The sunshine. I could not do the snow and the cold weather anymore. So I sold my wakeboard boat in Colorado and moved to Florida, bought a fishing boat, and then bought another truck to tow my fishing boat. And then I built the truck. Just basic.
Once again, another one.
So they'll go hand in hand. And I built it just big enough that I, stood out a little bit and put my social media on there and still fished. But it was right during COVID. So I figured, the best publicity with everybody's jobs being kind of at stake.
Right.
I figured it was a good time to bring in more people for YouTube and fishing and the outdoors and just.
So that's primarily your channel. That's what you do the most of.
I think my channel's kind of everything now. I go from big trucks, big lifted trucks to fishing and outdoors.
I guess because obviously you have the business side. So I looked at your page. So there's a lot of truck content on there as well.
There is. That's actually where the name for my business came from. Lifted Rippers was the lifted trucks, and then rippers came from they call it rip and lips when you fish. It's more of a bass fishing term, but yeah. So I kind of combined the two of lifted trucks and fishing, and I've done very well with it. I mean, I started with apparel in my garage, did more of the retail side of it, and now we have a shop and we do lift kits, wheels, tires, and
okay. So initially when you started, it was apparel. And
I started in my garage just selling fishing clothes, like SPF, the protective fishing, long sleeve shirts and hats and whatnot.
Oh, that's That's interesting. So what made you kind of go towards the auto the truck side and parts especially, which is a tough gig to kind of like get going a little bit?
I do think that there's always money to be had in like the retail world, but I didn't think it was quite enough for me.
Right.
I just saw like bigger pictures. Like here I had a lifted truck and I was building it for SEMA, and I had already paid an amazing company to build my truck the first time for me.
Right.
And then I met Joshua McClinton, who's really great at building trucks. So I figured, why not combine both, open up a shop, still have my retail, I still fish, but like build the trucks, sell the wheels and tires and the kits. And we actually have 4 or 5 trucks here at SEMA right now. So it's actually progressed quickly for us. We've only been open for 14 months and it's been wild.
Yeah. It's so you're still doing both. You still have like a retail.
Yeah, so I'm a fishing captain. So I fish and I do the retail side of it, and I do a lot of the sales. And then I have a whole crew at the shop that does the lift kits, wheels, everything else.
So how did you get, like, obviously from even back in Colorado, like fishing, was that like something you did with like just family or like?
Yeah, it was just fishing because of the friends I hung out with. We did a lot of hunting and fishing there. And actually, we were more into trucks, like off-road style trucks, the ones that were meant to be beat up and taken off-road in the mud and the terrain more than we were anything. Moab, Utah was really close to me. So we were in Moab all of the time, like testing what we could actually build. It wasn't for looks. It wasn't for shine and pretty. So I do get a lot of hate from previous friends that are like, why are you building these big trucks that are like for show and they're shiny and they're new, and like your old trucks were beat up and used. And so it's kind of fun to see both sides of it.
Yeah. I like the beat up, you should get like a page going with that again. You know,
I should.
Like
I have a Jeep out front, so
go beat it up. Go do some crazy stuff.
It's missing a drive shaft right now. I got kind of ridiculed for that, but right now it's missing a few parts and pieces, as SEMA always is. But I think it's gonna be going off road here soon.
So what's your connection with Fury? Have you been using Fury's product for a while?
Fury was a huge part of my first build for SEMA, actually. When I first got into the automotive world.
What year would that have been?
2021.
Okay, so
was my first year at SEMA, with my F250, and I loved their tires. And then after that, when I started opening up the business, I sell a lot of Fury tires to everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Now they're on most of my vehicles.
Are you? We've talked about it a few times. It's just an amazing thing. I was just speaking about it with someone. Are you heard about the new Total Tire protection?
I'm very excited about it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, just because you're in retail, and that's where I come from as well. Like those kind of.
Yeah. The warranty side of things is always great for consumers.
And it's not an upsell, which is always the toughest part.
They don't have to pay extra for it. And they love, I've actually sold 3 sets since we've been here today and this week.
Just
because they know that you guys are going to protect the
Interestingly
tires.
enough, good angle there. Since you come from an actual true like hardcore, like, not just for the looks, it would be cool to build, like get like, not even something just tough, old beat up, like that's not expensive.
Yeah.
Like a lift that supports, not a crazy lift, just something that supports, basic. And get a set on and see, because the warranty covers off-roading.
Oh, does it? All of off-roading? So we should test this theory.
Yes. Yeah, it covers on-road, off-road.
Who do we talk to about this?
Oh.
We're going to take it off-roading.
Oh, yeah. No. Absolutely. Well, that's the intention of it, because obviously everyone that's, not everyone, but a large group of users of the tires are actually off-road. And they're taking, there's the show truck side, but there are people using it, or even on their daily, using
most
it for
people. Most of the people that buy and sell from us and use us, it is their daily driver. It is something they are going to be taking to, Moab, Utah, or going to in Florida, we have like what's called River Ranch, is a big mud park. So people are very genuinely curious about how it will withstand everything. So I think
it's one good thing about like when you're selling something, especially on, with customers, and you have a lot, like there's so many options, right?
Yeah.
A company would never put a warranty if they were actually worried about replacing a lot of tires. Right?
That is precisely it. When I hear warranty, I'm like, oh, you really back your product.
Yeah. So that's, but it'd be cool to actually, for you, since you really come from that, to actually go take it out and go do like
I might have to do that soon. I might take my big F250 show truck out and see what happens. I feel like that one could handle it.
And that has those, currently have Fury?
Yeah, I have a Fury MT. I have the MT1s on that one.
Okay.
And then I also have my F350 here, but that one's more of a tote rig. I don't know if my clearance is high enough for that off-roading, but my F250 is tall.
Yeah.
Go get it dirty in the mud park, see what happens.
Yeah, I love that. Like, so I kind of come a little bit more from the car side of things, and we see a lot of, it's very similar. It's just you'll see a lot of guys build the cars to be completely track cars.
Yeah.
Everything's track, right? Like this, everything's suspension,
It's rated
everything.
for it.
They're gutted. There's cages. They're and then they basically drive from their house to a show,
house to the show or into the trailer.
Yeah, and I'm always like, guys, like I know it's a lot of money. I understand.
Yeah,
but go track it. You're gonna really enjoy it. You're gonna have a great
you're gonna have
time.
way more fun with all the money you've spent on these vehicles to just throw it in there and see what happens.
Yes, and that's why for someone like you, I know there's like the show component of it and it's part of like your content, but it'd be pretty interesting to
do both.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to build something that you can showcase and everyone's like, ooh and ah, and then be able to take it off road or take it onto the track and show everybody, like, we don't just. And that, I feel like that's what we did with our tow rig that's out front on Furies. And we towed it. It has 70,000 miles and it's a 2022. Like, we have proven that thing. It hauls our 250s, our 350s. It hauled 2 massive SEMA trucks here this year. We took it in the desert a couple days ago. We're going to take it back to the desert tomorrow. I feel like if anything, we're going to go shoot out. And
that's a cool thing about SEMA.
It's got the coolest content with it. The desert photos here, just nothing like anywhere else.
Yeah, that's like the real bonus of SEMA when you have a build here. If you stay the next day or the day after, you get to go out and
just do wild
you get pictures
stuff
that you'll probably never be able to get otherwise.
No, especially not in Florida.
No. Well, Florida, there's a lot of cool things you can shoot too, though.
Yeah. We do have some cool fisheries and we have a lot more swamp and mud down there, which would also be really cool, which I think we should probably try and do here soon, especially with that total tire protection.
It's alligator, or is that like a true concern? Like if you went out in the swamps and.
I think there are a lot of gators. I feel like being on that side, you have to be careful what swamps you go through so you don't run them over. They're not protected in that sense, but you wouldn't want to hurt the wildlife.
No one
but they're
wants to run despite you don't feel like running over.
They run from you, and it is kind of cool because I have been where we have
especially
gone
with a lifted truck, which you won't even know. You're just going to think that it's like a rock.
Think it's a rock or a boulder. So they're not as bad as they say. They're not a nuisance quite like everybody thinks Florida's are. But yeah, I definitely think some cool content would be fun out there with the gators like roaming around in the background, because they just kind of like lurk and stalk. Well,
especially if you have a truck that you're not scared to get dirty and like banged up and really go out there. Like I think there's a huge. Obviously everyone likes it. I love the show. When I go and I see all the work and the finishing and the hours that are put into all these builds, it's amazing. Obviously,
it is.
But like, I love seeing things being put to like the actual true purpose.
Test them out. That has always been my theory with anybody, sponsored or not. I want to test it out. What's going to happen when I do this, so that I can, especially as being a business now, I want people to feel comfortable with what they're getting themselves into. Oh well, yeah, for sure. I mean, that there's no question that like. If you've tested something, they're going to be a lot more confident. You're not just going to, there's obviously people that will just sell anything just to sell anything, but that is the problem with this day and age, is finding the people that are happy medium on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can do both, sell you something and not.
So what do you think? Do you typically bring different builds every year? Do you keep them? Do you sell them often? Like, what do you typically do? Like, do you think next year you're looking for something different? Do you think you're going to do something different?
My first year here was actually with Fury KG1 with my F250, and I brought it back a second year last year, and I had redone the whole thing. Like, we were the first one with the 4-link suspension on a Kelderman Air, first ever of its kind. This year we brought my F350 tow rig and my Jeep. So next year I'm thinking we're going to do something even more wild.
That's interesting. Have you already started, the wheels already started spinning? Like, yeah,
I mean, you guys would be the first ones to know, but I feel like I need to do like a boat and truck combo, the big center console.
Literally.
And maybe some forged trailer wheels on it and some different tires, something that's like changes the game.
Can you bring like a trailer? You should get like a boat on a trailer and like match. Yeah, you should do that. You should do like a big show, like the whole like crazy boat, crazy trailer.
I see what you're saying with that. Yeah.
Really show off, because that could be your niche, is that like, you come from that background of actually doing this and then a show version of it, but really, a
lot of the previous shows, I actually have custom rod holders built into the bed of my truck. So we would put the fishing rods into those. So I think that next year.
Or even, match paint fishing rods to the truck.
I did do that actually. My copper and white truck, it had fishing rods that matched the paint. It was pretty cool.
See, I like that. Those are the details that are like, when you see a build, you see a little detail. It's very important.
People didn't know what the fishing rods were.
Really?
They were like, what's hanging out of the back of your truck? Especially at some of the bigger shows, because fishing is kind of different. So we'll see. I definitely think we try to change up the game and do something different and wild and crazy and fun. That's also usable. Like you're saying, you want to be able to put these products to the test. And I think that next year,
yeah, that's awesome.
I definitely want to do something with the boat, the center console, bring that life in here. I see a couple like side-by-sides and boats here already, and they do very well. I think that doing something wild, crazy paint job or crazy wrap with some forged
even some
wheels.
of the overland builds, with the tents and everything, like you wouldn't consider that, as something you'd see at SEMA, but you're getting like, it's such a top level of it, as long as it's like SEMA, it's expected to be like a really top level of something. It's supposed
to be top level and for the aftermarket products. And I think that's the most important here is you can showcase that you can do both.
Exactly. And I think that's an amazing, it's an amazing combo and thing to showcase,
Showcase the consumers that they can build something bright and shiny and pretty.
Yeah.
Use it. Put it to the test.
Go fishing.
Some of these things have warranties. Take it fishing. Drive it off-road.
Drive over
take
alligators.
It camping, right? They make camping stuff for boats too. I think it would be wild to do something that, as a consumer walking around, that's the first thing that catches my eyes. Like, oh, I can have a boat and I can camp. Oh, I can have a boat with nice wheels on it. Like, I think that those things are what make my gears turn in my head.
Yeah, that's the thing,
goal, right?
Truthfully, if you're, once you get into like personalizing and customizing, making it special and what, especially with the things that you love, it's nice to have that outlet. It's very creative. There's a lot of creativity that goes behind it.
I think that people forget that SEMA is not necessarily about the builder. It's about what the consumer thinks is, again, what's usable, makes sense to them to be able to buy, because this stuff is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard to convince people, especially owning a business. Like, I want you to spend $10,000 on wheels and tires. And they're like, what can I do with it? So I think that people kind of forget that. I've seen that this year a lot, especially that this isn't about you. It's about what you're showcasing.
Yeah. So, you were saying about the builders. It's not about the build. It's really about.
It's about the companies that came here to showcase what they could produce. Yeah. And I've been having to tell people that this whole week. It's not a truck show. It's not a car show. We're here to showcase what these aftermarket companies want to put on your vehicle. And
well, in this instance, Fury, right? So you're here at the podcast talking to us.
Right.
But yeah, Fury's always been there for you. It's like that is truthfully, what it is.
Fury believed in me to put their wheels and tires on their, my truck. And here I am. And I want to showcase that the best of my ability. It's not necessarily about every little custom piece that I put on it personally. Now that makes it better. But at the end of the day, I think are starting to forget that a little bit. It's getting a little bit truck wild out there.
little drama.
There's some drama. Yeah. I got put on a page recently, this morning for the first time ever in 3 years.
Which page?
It's called Truck Race. This is where they
I can assume what it's probably.
They just basically attack people for like bad paint jobs or bad missing pieces or missing parts, and sometimes it's validated. You're like, you're right, they should definitely maybe not showcase that, but today I got put on there because I was missing a drive shaft, and and I get it, like in the grand scheme of things, I have a Jeep, I should probably have a drive shaft, but
it's kind of comical. Just roll with the punches,
right?
All right.
Well, you make a custom build, sometimes there's missing pieces and parts, but I've never been on there. It's a clean build, and today it was there.
It's all right. Listen, it's
But people are more worried about the drama side of it. Like, what do they not have? Like, I see they spent $200,000 on this build, but what are they missing? What's leaking?
Yeah.
Like, they have a scratch on their mirror.
Those are people that have never done a build
ever. They've never built anything in their life.
Or a build under a certain, like, sometimes you don't even know you're gonna do like or like something happens, the original plan's not working out, you got to go plan B, so now you got to start working on this last minute, and it doesn't always pan out.
It never pans out. I feel like most builders here, we're still working on our vehicles in the parking lot because things happen. Shipping happens.
There's also people that can't transport their own vehicle, right? So they have to get like transport to come, and those guys are coming one way or another.
They're going to get here.
If you're missing 1 hour to do that last thing, put a drive shaft in or well, they're leaving. So either your truck goes without a drive shaft,
your truck is out on the trailer and getting pushed. I think I saw a few vehicles actually being pushed into SEMA, which I thought was surprising this year because last year they were very much like you drive it in.
So, I find that's like a ridiculous one because
at that point maybe you should have waited.
It's different if the drive shaft. No, I mean it's not. It's really not. That's not like as big of a deal in my opinion.
I feel like at least if you have the rear one, you can get in.
I think you should spin it that you were off-roading and blew the
You know what? Maybe I should have said that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
That's what you should. Yeah. Respond
we
to them.
We took it off-roading, and I
because
broke
I have
it.
a Jeep, and even though it's built, I went off-roading
and I broke it. Like
we were
happens.
out in the desert. We were off. We were off-roading,
we were
and I
spinning
blew.
some donuts. That's what I'm going with. You guys see it. That's what I'm saying.
That's
what
you should do. That would have been. That's the first thing I would have done. I would have been
not the custom suspension that screwed me up. I was off-roading it.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't need to know that.
No.
Now they will, but.
They didn't
need to know that previously. So for next time when you don't have the drive shaft on, just tell me you're off-roading.
Someone's off-roading it.
But it'll be, it won't be that weird because we talked about how you're going to go off-roading now. So
yeah, we are. I want to test the theory of all these tires and what other products I have on the trucks just to see. I like to be that way.
I mean, even for the brands, what you were kind of alluding to before about the return from the use, like the builders and everyone, that is pretty valuable data.
Well, we get a lot of phone calls to my shop personally about like, oh, I saw your truck on Fury Tires. Like, how do you love them? And if I don't love a product, I'm not going to leave it on my truck.
Yeah.
And I have tested we've been in multiple hurricanes. We've helped save a lot of people in hurricanes, and my Fury Tires have always done super well. Same theory this year. Any product I have on my truck, I want to test it out.
That's pretty good.
See what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Go gator hunting next time with it.
So one last time, where can we find you? Or do you do any YouTube content? Or is it
I do, yeah. My YouTube, my TikTok, and my Instagram they're all Mariah_970.
That's easy to remember.
And then my business page is lifted_rippers.
Perfect.
And we do the same thing. We do YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, everything.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, we're going to spin some donuts now. You ready?
Yeah, with the Jeep.
Let's go. Without a drive shaft?
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And that concludes this episode of Tread Talk. Thanks again. See you soon.